distinguishing ourselves, isn't it? In fact, when you look at the track record of Interfaith, IF20, it has got 10 years experience across the globe. But I think, thank you so much for that recognition. Let me request...
Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm Sandile from the IF20. I've got a very simple question. In the remarks of Mr. Joubert, he mentioned that there will be an opportunity to submit policy recommendations. And in the last meeting that was hosted by DECO, there was Gustavo from Brazil, and he gave us some good suggestions. Am I correct to say that that opportunity for the submissions will be the third Shepherd meeting at the end of June? And also, can you also confirm what is expected in terms of the groups that will come and present, as well as what they should keep in mind as they do so? Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Solim Wang. I'm interested, I'm always interested in end games. We meet, we have great conversations, great input, and then we go home, we meet the next year and nothing has changed. I'm just wondering to what extent there are arrangements for the final outcome of these engagements to inform the way we do things. Mr. Bear mentioned earlier when he started, there are two outlooks. We're looking at the world, but we also look within. The social summit is probably going to raise a lot of internal issues. One would expect that. You mentioned the need for the reform of the Bretton Woods institutions, the UN. We know how the veto power has been abused and all that. But if we look at the past 31 years of South Africa, I think we have reason to have conversations about how we do things. In South Africa, many of the democratic institutions that have been put in place have proven to be vulnerable to abuse, to repurposing, weakening, and repurposing for all sorts of things on the way society, on the happiness of the people, on intercommunal harmony in South Africa. So to what extent, and it's possible some people must say, but we're not going to heal these things if we don't change, if we don't have a conversation about institutional reform in South Africa. To what extent is there openness, or will there be openness to ensure that all these things that will come out of all these inputs and recommendations will inform the way we do things, so that we don't just say, yeah, we had a great summit and also all these treks and all that, and then next year it goes somewhere else and we celebrate having hosted this thing, but it doesn't change the way we do things, so that the healing really happens. A lot of the healing happens because of the institutional makeup. We boast about having the best institutions, but these institutions are abused. They have been abused. How do we make sure that this country doesn't go through the same thing that it has been taken through over the past 31 years? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Peace be upon you all in this house. I'm Alima Fakude from the National Interfaith Council of South Africa. First, I want to exercise my moral authority as given to me by Ambassador Masi Hailu. To me, and to many in the community of South Africa, in the whole population, the word xenophobia, as referred to South Africa, is as much of a misrepresentation of the South African community or society as genocide is, as referred to South Africa by Trump. South Africa has no xenophobia. Children of South Africa give birth to children of foreigners. Xenophobia, simply defined, is the fear or dislike of anything or anyone that is perceived as foreign. There's no such a thing in South Africa. There must have been a clash, not a xenophobia, in all those years. So I'm grateful to all the presenters for every word they have passed, which was beautiful and very informative. I would like also us to refer to ourselves, to look at the lexicon we use when referring to things. Religious leaders, which is us, or faith leaders, as I would like us to be, because not all faith is religion, but faith is faith, be it religious or coming from any other angle. When we talk about religious leaders and faith leaders, we kind of refer to them as if tradition is separate from faith. No. Before there was religion, in South Africa in particular, there was faith. Religion found faith here and dismantled it. So let us refer to faith leadership, not religion, because we are faith leaders. Finally, I would like us to start from the know who we are and not be inclined to align to what we're told we are. We are faith leaders. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the general remarks, which I think it attempts to clarify xenophobia in relation to South Africa. Yes, I think there was a request in terms of the question coming from Sandile. What are the things that we must take note of?
I must really run, so I'm going to make a few generic remarks or responses, and maybe if I can ask you, Tiego, to cover for me, please. Maybe Tiego can assist us in terms of how you feed into the system. I mean, the whole idea is that there will be another engagement from the G20 Sherpa track, from the Sherpa with all the engagement groups, whether they are in the 13 official ones or outside of that. I'm not so sure to what extent you would feed into the third Sherpa meeting. As Tiego has mentioned, there are 13 groups that at the moment are part of the official cabinet-approved engagement. That, as I said, the simple fact that we are here to engage does not mean that we stick only to the 13. So perhaps going forward, if you feel that there is an opportunity to engage and you are excluded from the 13, you could find a proxy in the 13 that you can feed into let's call it that official engagement. Gladly, we can also take matters of interfaith into those meetings. But maybe Tiego has a more specific response for you. Just to say that, I mean, the big thing here is the move into the summit and the inputs into the summit that was mentioned. Where do they go and what are the outcomes of that? It's a very important question. The way we have structured or timed the summit is, of course, that it takes place 5 days before the Leaders' Summit. So the outcomes of the social summit is feeding very specifically into the Leaders' Summit. What you have done are not lost in that sense. So that's in terms of the timing and how it feeds into the official leaders event or the Leaders' Summit. And then just to thank, I agree with you, Prof. The statements, those are statements that we should all take note of. It's general remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we need to come to a close.
Can we, I don't know, maybe ask a question, but it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I needed to wrap up because of the time constraints of our presenters, unless if it's just a remark, it doesn't require anybody.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask, and maybe it's to the room more than it is to the government representatives, but as much as I'm Mandy Sakenji from Oxfam, South Africa, so we speak about the G20 as a global forum, right? But it is also a very important political and economic moment in South Africa. And I wonder, as a country that is cited as the most unequal in the world, if there's an opportunity that we see as South Africans to use that moment to reflect and see what ways are presented to us by this moment to address the question of inequality in South Africa. Because we want to position ourselves as a moral voice globally. But I think in many ways, we need to begin to use that voice to critique our own inequalities and our own power imbalances. I wonder if we are thinking about how we are involving the voices of women in informal settlements and in rural areas who are impacted the most about inequality, who historically have become the face of poverty in South Africa. How do we begin to bring those voices and those experiences in the conversation around the G20 and equality and what that means when we speak about solidarity, equality and sustainability? How do we not leave behind the voices of the people that are most impacted, not only by the current equality but inequality, but have carried, the impacts of the apartheid inequality that we carry as South Africans? How do we bring those voices in? And how do we hear those voices in the conversations around the engagement groups, but also around the social summit itself? How are those voices representative and how do we hear them in meaningful ways?
Yeah. I think it's a very important remarks that you have just given us. But there's going to be, if you look at the next session, some of those issues around roundtable dialogue, they will be focused on. Those issues will be raised. So this one specifically addresses our relationship and how we are working with government and so forth and so forth. Another issue, sorry? There's a final question.
It's a comment.
Okay.
Good morning, I'm Nhlanhla Ndlovu, C20. So there's questions that have been asked, and there's a shape we are taking as C20, because in conversation with government, there's always been an attempt to be as inclusive as possible. So there are engagement groups that are not part of the 13 that has been cited. Like, for instance, the example of Disability 20 has been made here. At C20, we are opening up conversations, and we are extending this maybe in particular to Interfaith South Africa. C20 is Civil 20.
Yeah, civil, yeah.
Yes.
Civil.
So we are actually extending like our hand for a possible conversation, because we have got 14 working groups that are mirroring government mostly, and a 14th one is a people-to-people engagement, which is we've designed it that way. So with the other engagement groups that are not recognized, we've opened up space for them to have conversations with us. Our inputs to policy packs of government of the G20, we are opening up so that we could be influenced by other groups. So if IF20 has got no into submission or into the policy packs, as C20 we have opened ourselves up. So I'm just basically saying this so that there's knowledge that there's such a channel that is available.
Okay.
But also conversations could begin as soon as possible. Thanks.
I think it's good that at least there's a face that we can interact with going forward. As we look at the issues of recommendations, how do recommendations from here reach the pinnacle of G20? So I think that is a very useful contribution. Colleagues and brothers and sisters, I think we need to break now.